Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. It helps out the show a ton. And you can follow us on Instagram. Enjoy.
I also...
we also have no idea ever how to start these
Yeah.
or finish
Start
it.
talking.
We do, and then we'll just be like,
Yeah, we've started just dropping the introduction, like the opening card or whatever. We just drop it in somewhere when we feel like we've started the show.
Perfect.
So the game is to see how far into the show can we get before we talk about starting the show.
I like it.
So one day the title card will be in like minute 45.
Oh.
Be like,
should we
get in.
talk about your quotes?
Do you want to? I feel like if you want to talk about them, we can.
Alright. I don't know what the hell that means.
Welcome to the Red Gauge Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Kyle. This is Josh. And we've got our esteemed guest, Jessica Roberson, with us today.
Hello.
Can you clap?
Good morning.
Oh, you want the sound? Well, it's too late. We already started it.
No,
No,
we're
we can
clapping for applause.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, hey!
This is something that normal humans do when you bring on an esteemed guest.
Is it?
It's too late to clap.
It's too late. It's too late to clap. The moment's come and gone.
Yeah.
But for real, let's start off. We don't talk about your quotes. You
Okay.
did all this time, besides on the last episode where you forgot to do it.
Yep.
Oh.
Episode 3.2. It was
Yeah.
just a continuation of the previous
Yeah.
episode.
We're technically on episode 5, but
But they're always going to be off by one now.
Cofield forgot a quote, so
Yeah,
we
but
just
I-
have 2 episode 3s.
Yeah, I can't jump to episode 5 and skip 4. That would be crazy. You know, so we have to have an episode 4 in there.
So for people that can't see it, 3 men are a tiger.
Yeah. Yeah, so 3 men are a tiger is an old, what's the word that I'm looking for? Colloquialism?
I was thinking bullshit.
It basically just means that, like, if you, it's for people to reflect on the idea that if you hear something often enough, you start to think that it's true, even if it's insane. You know?
Okay, yeah,
You know, eggs are bad, deadlift's bad,
right.
you know? Same thing. Yeah. So, I say it to people all the time and they just look at me.
Like this.
Yeah, yeah, like that. They look at that's bullshit. That's the look I get every time.
You say that specific quote?
Yeah. Yeah, whenever somebody says something to me that's insane, that's just like a old wives' tale that's been repeated a lot, I just say, 3 men are a tiger, and then I keep walking. And there.
You don't wait to see their response.
It's saying, it's like playing on itself. It's an absurd
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
If there's 3 men, they're a tiger.
yeah,
What you're saying, eggs are bad.
right.
Like, well, obviously they're probably not that bad. They give life.
Well, yeah, I mean, just, you know, we find out
So,
later
3
on that,
men.
like, people aren't good at absorbing
Yeah.
dietary cholesterol, and
You know, it sucked the first time you find out that there's 3 men that are a tiger.
yeah. All tigers are actually just 3 men.
3 men in a suit.
Every one of them. Like, you go to the big cat refuge that's down the road here a little ways, and they got a tiger, and it's really just 3 dudes who are like, when do we stop doing this? When do we come out of our tiger suit and just admit that what's happened is what's happened, you know?
I'm committed for too long.
Yeah. At this point, it would upset the entire thing. Maybe I can have Kyle's random ass question for the day. I just thought of it.
No.
No?
Well, you could ask this one, but
Okay, but not on the regular?
God, no. No one needs to be exposed
Favorite
to that.
conspiracy theory?
Ooh, we can.
Oh, you look like you're going to get in trouble if you say your favorite
Well,
conspiracy
okay.
theory.
Because favorite conspiracy theory or something like. There's lots of conspiracy theories that I like to listen to, not necessarily believe,
Yeah.
just in case like the NSA is listening or you know what I mean.
Right. They are.
I got real big into that we did 9/11 while I was in the military.
Yeah.
Like there was a documentary that came out, Loose Change, and like just like any documentary, it can be really
Yeah.
like a
Yeah, you can say whatever you want in a documentary.
right.
Yeah.
And there was lots of stuff that's like could be true. Like if all the stuff was true or even close to true, it's like holy crap. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here like looking into Bush and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course, we would never do something like that.
So your favorite one is 9/11 was an
No, we
inside
did
job.
9/11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, they found one of the passports on the ground outside the building. That's one of the guys that did it. What the fuck? Fire burnt the building down, like, out the passport. And why did they find that and go like, I wonder if this is important? Well, whatever. Okay. That's not how we normally start this.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock said that there should only be one coincidence in a story, and it should happen early. But unfortunately, we're conditioned by movies and not by reality. There's lots of coincidences in real life.
All over the place.
Yeah, I have no stance on. I never have spent any effort to like learn about 9/11, so I can't contribute to the 9/11 conspiracy conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know we wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah,
I would rather not.
Okay.
On episode 4.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
It's not necessarily a favorite, but so when I worked as a dental hygienist, fluoride being a real common one is that it's a byproduct of bomb manufacturing.
Okay.
And that, they didn't know what to do with the excess, materials, and so they just put it into the drinking water. And I had a conversation with a guy. I had a conversation with a guy, like I had just gotten done, like documenting his, the tissue of where he put his chewing tobacco. Because people like tuck it away in a safe spot. So I had just like gotten done with that. And then I was like, hey, would you like to do a fluoride treatment today? It's the last part of the, the cleaning. And he was like, no, it attacks your pituitary gland. It causes brain cancer. And don't you know it's, a byproduct of bomb manufacturing? And it's just like, I literally, like, I caught myself rolling my eyes. Just
like you started and
like,
you were
dude,
like,
you use tobacco. Like, that is a known
almost has
carcinogen.
a hole through it.
Right. Like, you'll probably have to have a chunk of your face removed. Yet, let's stay away from the fluoride.
Yeah, you're twice a lifetime fluoride treatment. Yeah. Yeah. Do I have a favorite conspiracy theory? I think that all the 3 men are a tiger is my new favorite. They just committed to the gang. Yeah, that's number 1 though. It's at the top of the list. There's a lot of historical ones that are really fun, like the man in the iron mask being the real king of France.
I knew for a fact
that I was going to come off the rails.
That if the second you said that are a lot of fun,
the
next thing you said was going to be something completely unfun. I knew it. I was like, this is going to be the stupidest thing. Oh, Jessica's throwing her head. She's gone. I know I was signing up for conspiracy theories. That would be a funny twist. Invite people on that think they're talking training.
Yeah. And then just
deep dive
into conspiracy theories. I'm going to Google the man in the iron mask. I've never done this on the podcast before.
Oh, it's really good. Especially for listeners.
Yeah.
Should I commentate?
No, that's okay. Well, probably, go ahead.
Kyle is now scrolling.
On Wikipedia, which we all know is a great Eustache Dogger. Anyway, we'll get back to the real show here. I apologize.
No one cares about that.
I had to try it. It wasn't good. I'm not going to do it again, I don't think.
Listen, show notes.
Yeah.
If you want to talk Man in the Iron Mask, it's got to be on the show notes.
Okay.
It better not ever show up on the show notes. All right, should we actually start talking about
why we're here?
Jessica's actually here.
Why we're here.
70 minutes into the podcast here.
You're not good at counting or reading.
I can't see it. The camera's in my way. That's why I never know how long we've actually been going. And I'm on hallucinogens.
I really like this.
Good way to start a Sunday morning. We have to cope somehow.
Yeah. How are you going to get through your
That means
day?
it's almost Monday.
Right? Yeah, you're coping with the discomfort that Monday is coming right around the corner. Oh, gotta go back to work.
Big weekend coming up, though.
Yeah.
4-day.
Yeah. I'm
All right.
gonna ski.
You are? Mm-hmm. You do a lot of skiing.
I try.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I like that.
It really is. It's type 1 fun. You know?
There's different types of fun?
Yeah. So
let's go
my first introduction I learned type 2 fun.
Okay.
And I learned that when I participated in the Seattle to Portland bike ride.
Okay.
So type 2 fun it is not at all fun while you're doing it, but it's fun to say you did it. Like it's fun to be like, hey, I climbed Mount Everest or whatever, but in the moment it's horrible. Right. You're like, oh, when is this going to be over? Like I'm so miserable from head to toe. So I learned type 2 fun, but then, type 1 fun.
It's fun in the moment.
Fun in the moment, fun to talk about. Gear is fun, all the things
is
are
it
fun.
Also, is type 1 fun also type 2 fun?
Yeah.
Like, it is also fun to talk about.
Yes.
So it's both.
Yes.
Is there one that's only fun, not fun to talk about, but fun in the moment?
Well, so personally for me, the STP. I did it, I think, like 5 years in a row. And then by the time I did it for what was the last time, it was type 3 fun. It just wasn't even fun to talk about anymore.
Right.
Like, I didn't want to, no. It's kind of, yeah.
Became work.
I'm kind of think about what the weight room is. You know, like, I feel like it's not that much fun to talk about.
No.
You know, people really glaze over when you bring up the weight room.
Oh, right. What kind of fun, what type would that be? So it's fun, like, I enjoy working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not fun to have a conversation about working out. Like, yeah, I lifted so much.
It's mostly fun.
I don't know who. We don't have like a manager or anything, but I'm calling a timeout. We literally started a podcast essentially talking about being in the weight room. You're like, it's not fun to talk about the weight room. Oh, yeah, what business did we just start?
Well, sorry. That was my proclamation.
No, that was
Literally
me.
talking about the friggin' weight room. But anyways, yes, I understand. Like, especially, that's why the podcast is so interesting.
Right.
It's so we can talk to people that don't go like, oh, dear God. Let me learn about your Zerker squat.
It's impressive. No, it's just that, like, like, the best part of weight room is when you're done. You know, like,
Oh, absolutely.
you finish the workout and your body's trashed and you feel like $1 million. Like, that's by far the best part.
If
In my
you
opinion.
could just,
Yeah.
would you trade in the work? Now, the work is part of it, too.
Yeah.
Like, if you could just walk into a little bod pod,
Mm-hmm.
boom, pump,
Yeah.
gave you the pump, gave you the feel, gave you the results, and then you walked out, it was 90 seconds.
Would you still do it?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I enjoy doing the hard stuff. But I also, I don't know, I don't meet a lot of people who enjoy doing the hard stuff.
It's almost like two different, like, those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the benefits of grinding
Right.
is almost scratches an entirely different itch.
What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Oh, that's crazy. Physically?
Yeah, whatever. That you're comfortable talking about on air.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys know a little bit about some of the things I've gone through. Like, physically?
Sure.
Yeah, physically and fun.
Physically and fun. Hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the time that you were kidnapped in an Austrian hostel and, sold into slavery in
Yes.
Syria or whatever.
Well, so I said yes. I was saying yes, not to the slavery part. It was just bad timing. But the held hostage in Austria would be an interesting story.
Yeah. That was I just made that up though. I hope.
A story does come to mind. I don't know if it's like the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was kind of a moment of like power through. So I was in Nepal and I had gone there to do dentistry,
Right.
and then afterwards had gone up into the mountains to do the trek to Mount Everest, to the base camp, not to the top of Everest, to the bottom of Everest, right?
Uh-huh.
Like day 9. So I'm with a guide. And we were almost to base camp, like the tents were in sight.
Mm-hmm.
But the oxygen at that point is so thin that you're just so exhausted and your mind doesn't even work right anymore. We're almost at, I think, like 18,000 feet. And I literally sat on the ground. I just stopped and I sat down on the ground. And I told my guide, I said, I'm too tired to keep going.
I'm just gonna die here.
I'm ready to turn on. Like, literally, we'd been on foot for 9 days.
Yeah.
And
And it's like right over there.
like, it was within sight. And I knew, like, in the very back of my brain, I knew that I would regret that. But I just literally couldn't take another step.
Yeah.
I just was done. And and he was a native Nepalese, and, I was saying, am I letting you down? And he didn't really understand that concept. And so he just kind of sat next to me. And we were there for like 20 minutes, just kind of not really doing anything. And then it was just, I guess, meant to be. Along the trail walks along this other Nepalese guy, and they stop and talk, and they're talking in their language. And I'm just not even paying attention just because I don't have the energy to even do
Try
anything.
to suss out what's going on. Yeah.
Just so done. And, they talk for like 5 minutes. And then the guy continues on. And my guide looks at me and says, literally, he goes, that was my cousin. And he goes, he's a cook for a Japanese climbing expedition. He just told me, hey, bring your client up to base camp and I'll make you guys lunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, Okay.
All right.
Like that's a sign from God. Like and I'm not even really religious or anything, but I feel like God took a break from real miracles in life.
Right.
And
Let's
it was
get
like,
this
God, get her up and get her.
Isn't it funny that you was like, you were like crippled by the ability to finish, and then somebody was like, "But we got lunch," and you're like,
All right, here we go.
"All right, that's good
God.
enough." Like how many people in life just needed lunch at a moment, to
Right?
finish, to,
I
like,
know.
cross the finish line.
I know. So yeah, I went into base camp and had lunch, and it was really cool. Yeah. Apparently, there was like a famous Japanese climber that was there, and he actually came into the tent and like said hi and like hung up his harness, and I was like, I've never actually researched like who that was, but
Right.
apparently he was famous. So
A lot of the people that they like get there, stay there for a little bit, and don't they like go back down? Like I've seen, I don't know a lot about Everest, but like they go back and like go back down to sea level, come back up to.
Yeah, so typically if they're going to climb the mountain, it's a really long process because you have to acclimate your body to less oxygen. And so they'll climb, say, from the base camp to like camp 1, and they'll spend the night and then come back down. And then they might do that a series of times, and then they'll go to camp 2. And then, so it's going up and back down, up and back down, up and back down. Eventually they go to the top.
Go up.
Because if they just climbed it all the way to the top, their physiology isn't prepared for that. And
Right.
they, could die easily of like altitude sickness.
Get some altitude sickness. Get off the path by 4 or 5 feet, and then you're wrecked.
Put in a contract. Anytime we're doing anything like physical, I want to go first.
What do you mean?
Like, Monroe, what's the hardest thing you've ever done? Like, oh, Jessica, climb to the base of Mount Everest.
I didn't mean to sound like.
It's like, I beat Demon Souls last night.
It's a video game. Video game's the hardest thing ever.
It was pretty tough. No, it really wasn't. It was. I don't know. You go.
It's my turn?
Yeah, I'll cook here.
You're cooking?
We'll eventually get to. Have we said the word yoga yet?
No, we'll
think
get
so,
there.
no.
We'll get there.
We might as well
We'll
do
get
the
there.
random ass question after this. Jessica's gonna be like a 3-hour episode here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fun. I feel weird that I brought it up like every episode of the podcast because I don't bring it up that much in my day-to-day life. But I think the walk home from the jump into the quarry was the hardest thing I ever did.
I don't know. I think I've heard the quarry story.
Yeah.
Now I've heard it quite a few times.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a poster, and every time Kyle references an injury,
Yeah, we're going to mark it on
we're gonna
the...
have a mark on the poster, and then like after the 1 year, it's just gonna be like.
Yeah, it'll be pretty good. Yeah, I mean, we told it before on the show, but I jumped into a quarry when I was a kid. I thought the sand pile at the bottom would be soft, and it turns out that if you leave sand out in the rain for like 10 years, it basically just turns into stone again.
Oh,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
jumped onto a pile of concrete?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it really messed me up. And so my hip came out of socket and everything, and then went back in, and so I don't have any cartilage in my right hip. It's all got cut off.
How far was this jump?
So I mentioned last time it was probably like I remember it being like 25 feet, but I was also a kid, so maybe it was a little bit less, but it was a pretty good.
Even still.
So they had like excavated a row, and then you'd go up another one where they'd excavate it again. And so like at the edge there was like this spot where it was a shear that was like the 2 layers of where whatever their excavator would reach. So I jumped off the top layer of the whatever the excavator would reach. So yeah,
Dang.
it was a good time. But that walk home was pretty because I was just by myself. So I had to walk like 1.5 miles to get home afterwards.
With like a dislocated hip that was like.
It went back in, yeah, but it was pretty rough. That was probably it.
It's also the thumbnail of episode 3.
Oh, I know another one. I tried to swim across the Sound.
Tried.
Well, I guess I succeeded, but I got about halfway, and like my arms and legs just kind of quit working. Like because of the cold, because it's only 42 degrees or whatever, and I wasn't wearing a wetsuit or anything smart, again, because I was a dumb kid.
And how old are you at this point?
Like 11 or 12, something.
I'm assuming like off the island.
Yeah.
And had you told
Across the Sound can be a
Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
of-
It
Have
was
you told
probably
anyone where you were going?
it was probably no, I had not told anybody where I was going. I was just out wandering around.
course
It was
not.
probably 400 feet or something.
I'm gonna swim over there.
Yeah, but maybe 500 feet, but yeah, 400 or 500 feet in 42-degree water with just like shorts and a tank top on.
Yeah.
And-
Then you get to the other side and you're like,
Yeah, I had to walk to the bridge.
Huge.
I had to walk to the
Yeah.
bridge. Yeah, it was like a 3-hour walk home.
Oh my god.
That was pretty brutal.
Tune in to episode 5.
You don't have a thing? The hardest thing you've ever done?
Nothing real good, you know?
I was sure I was going to die on that swim. I was 100%. And I was like, oh, I'm dead now. Just.
Oh my gosh, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Tough
fun.
things. There's tough things in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
But
you've been to Afghanistan.
nothing
You've
that-
done hard things.
yeah, but like
you're any of your hard things would blow mine out of the water.
No, not physically. Like the hard stuff in Afghanistan wasn't physical. You know.
It was like your best buddy got hit by an IED kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that. But so, I ran a half marathon. That was kind of tough. You know.
Mm-hmm. What you're saying is that we need to put you in more life or death type situations.
No. I enjoy being a coach. I like watching other people persevere through tough things.
Yeah, okay.
I chose that word correctly. Persevere.
Persevere.
Well, I don't want to skip the Monroe's random ass question.
Okay, what's the
We're on,
Monroe's
like,
random
we're
ass
on, like
question?
the fourth random question. We're gonna have to have 4.5 where we actually talk about training. It is, and I was thinking musically, but I guess it could be anything. If you could go back and watch a live event or show of any artist, in my brain I was thinking music, but if you had a different thing, it could be something different. What would it be? So it could just be like, oh, I want to go see Elton John.
Mm-hmm.
Or a specific, I want to go see this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have really bad social anxiety, so I think I would choose to stay home and watch my children perform a song in the living room. I never enjoy going to concerts.
Could be like theater or something. You ever been to
Private show?
The Nutcracker?
I have been to the Nutcracker.
Could
It's
be
pretty
like
cool.
Unplugged. That was pretty chill back in
Back in the day.
the day.
Jess, do you have a
Oh, this one's hard.
show that you'd want to see?
I'll go first because
Okay.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Woodstock '99.
Oh,
Really?
But I gotta be on backstage.
Okay.
I'm not in the crowd.
You don't have to worry
But
about
that
the acts of
is-
violence.
That is the wheelhouse of all of my favorite bands.
Mm-hmm.
Are there going crazy?
Yeah, Tool is my favorite band, so whatever the smallest Tool show with the best acoustics ever, I'll do that.
Like, have they ever played at what's Pickles Vineyard? Doesn't he own vineyards?
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. But we went to see them at the Paramount, and that's like a 2,000 or 3,000 seat
Yeah.
venue. It's pretty small. It's an amphitheater for sound. It was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I'd go do that one again. Just repeat it. You're up. Hard choice.
I know. I'm not super into like concerts and stuff. I'm literally like an old lady when I go to concerts. Like, it's so loud.
And why is everybody standing the whole time? We have these nice seats.
I know,
Sit down.
right? I could do like an acoustic guitar,
Uh-huh.
like concert or something. But as far as like a performance or seeing an artist do their craft, like I love books. I'm super nerdy. I don't know. I would like to see like the process of like somebody writing a great master. Not physically writing, like that'd be super boring. But just the gathering of that and the process.
You want to go to an IMAX theater of somebody writing a book?
Well, no.
This movie is 14 years
They're
long.
like diagramming it on the whiteboard. Like, this is the story
But
arc.
no, like Stephen King can write a novel in 3 months, which just blows me away.
Right.
Just so like what is the routine of that, and what is that process?
It is
like?
crazy. And now he just puts out work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all great work. I love Stephen King novels, but there are plenty of times where you're like, holy crap.
You told me to read 11/22/63.
Yeah, whatever that date is. Did you read it?
I have not finished it yet.
Are you enjoying it?
No, she's not enjoying it.
Okay, this is gonna sound so crazy because so many people love that book. It's big and heavy, and like the process of holding it is not fun. Like it's not relaxing because my hands are like holding a brick.
That
You just tear it in
probably
half.
goes
That's
into,
not a bad idea.
It probably goes into my background of no confidence in myself. You know what I mean? Like that deep seated failure. So the bigger the novel, the more proud I am.
Let's see.
Look what the hell I've read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tomes.
Yeah.
That's what it's from.
See that?
But it's
I've basically read nothing,
just
so.
get a
Yeah,
harness
that's
or
right.
something.
Huh?
You read books? No.
No.
Never.
Nonfiction. I'll read a technical manual on a vacuum, but I'm not reading no Stephen King. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I think the guy writes great stuff, but I don't read fiction.
He read a book on the Man in the Iron Mask.
But
Probably.
there's lots of really great nonfiction books too that aren't, vacuum cleaner manuals.
That's true. But they get too spicy.
I did catch you reading the instructions
For what?
the other day. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it was the chair. When you were building the chair, you're like, oh, and next you turn the hex nut. And I was like, oh, dear God, you're actually reading that thing? It's 4 steps. But anyways, should we start the show?
Probably should.
Is this the time where we put the card in right now? 25 minutes in?
It's already been in. All right. So we did actually bring Jessica on
For a reason.
for a reason. Do you want to talk about a little bit of your history and training, what your specialty is, and why we came to know each other?
Sure. So I have been a yoga instructor for 10 years. I practiced for many years before that. And I remember this one day, literally, it was like this one morning, I was like, it just kind of popped into my head, like, I've been going to class and going to studios and stuff for a long time. Like, maybe I should become an instructor. Like, just kind of that thought came and went. And then I went to class that day, and my instructor, who is my good friend, Michelle Pugh, she said, after class, she pulled me aside. She's like, you know what I was thinking? Like, I think you should become an instructor. Like, the same day that I had that same thought. And so then that kind of, set me in motion, and I found a school and went and did my training. And then 5 years after that, went back to the same school and did more advanced training. So, I've had 500 hours of, instructional training to be an instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my personal background. I was recommended, so I'll tell you about trying my first yoga class. I was actually in therapy and getting counseling, and I'm like crying and like all my emotional baggage is like vomiting. And my therapist was like, have you ever thought about trying yoga, or do you do yoga? And I just I literally kind of scoffed, I actually work out. I did. That was my mentality.
Right.
I pictured people just breathing heavily on carpet squares, and I had no idea what. And I thought that yoga was for people that didn't want to actually exercise.
Yeah.
And so I went to my first class, and it was actually a hot yoga class in a room that was 105 degrees, and it was really difficult, and I was hooked.
I think I might die if I did a hot yoga class. I don't sweat. I think I'd overheat and die.
I always notice, I think we've had this conversation before too, when I go to hot yoga, I notice, I pick up on weird things, maybe it's my ADD or whatever, but I'll notice people start sweating right away, and I'm always usually the last one in class that starts to break a sweat. And I'm not like, I'm so fit. It takes me so long to sweat. It's just my physiology. I just don't sweat readily.
Yeah.
Which, is nice. It has its benefits.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'm sweating right now.
I know some people have to get Botox because their hands are so sweaty and stuff like that. They really have a sweating problem.
I sweat when I get really nervous. So that's about the only time.
I feel like I sweat a normal amount of time.
Nice. Good job. Way to go.
Yeah.
You did it.
So Kyle, I'd be curious to see if you did a hot yoga class,
when it would kick in.
How long into the
Or
practice?
if I would just die.
Content.
Right.
Content? Another goal for Cofield. Hot yoga.
Hot yoga class. So the big thing, kind of how we got connected, was through a couple of different people, but...
Oh yeah, I forgot to answer that part.
No, that's fine. We started looking to get the football kids doing yoga at least once a week, trying to get them hooked up. And it's definitely, a lot of times in training, especially at the high school level, there are a lot of things you can't accomplish, or you could, I guess, but you only have so much time with the kids in the class. So a lot of times, a stretching protocol goes home. Do these things. The second the kids are out of sight, most of them are never doing any of that.
Yeah, you walk by the recycling can and all of their stretching protocols are in there.
Yes. So we decided to start doing it once a week, which probably, it's a great start, but it's probably not enough even then. So that's when Jessica, started coming in and doing classes.
It was 2017.
Yeah, some really big classes, some smaller classes, some
In the
super
old
successful.
wrestling room
Yep.
before they remodeled.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was, that
So
was so fun.
before school, after school, you've been doing it for quite some time. I wish there was some way. I mean, I know that it's been successful. The kids started to at least normalize it, which I think is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It is harder. You know, it's not like doing bench press where you could be like, well, their bench went from 200 to 205 pounds. That was improvement. But maybe just some thoughts that you know yoga. So like, what are some things that the benefits? It's an easy sell for me. Someone walks in, they're like, kids need to be more mobile, and it's going to prevent injury. Like, all right, let's do it. But even after all that, like me myself, I am tight everywhere. I have back pain, knee pain, hip pain, and people are like, have you tried stretching? And I'll stretch for 2 days. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'll stretch again next year. And
Right.
I'll just live in pain for the rest of the year, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So the benefits in the context of for athletes, balance. So it really increases your balance, which is good for kind of any sport, I think.
right.
You're not going to get knocked off your feet as easily. Core strength, and then flexibility. Injury prevention.
Actual core strength. Like, I feel like a lot of times when people say, oh, I'm doing core, it's talking about just abs. But, like, it's very good core.
Yeah, I mean, some of those like arm balances and things, you have to have a strong core in order to hold your body in that position. It's not just arms, So, yeah. And then, you can go further down the rabbit hole on the benefits of meditation for athletes, that ability to be okay with being uncomfortable, that kind of thing is really great for high school athletes, any athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably just good for high schoolers, especially
Yes.
nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
the ability to sit, the ability to be around people, sit quietly around
Not be
people,
on your phone.
not be on your cell phone. I remember one time you were gone, or for some reason I had to fill in. And I was like, I'll just do one of these. Popped on and like, oh my God, I've never felt so inadequate.
No.
Like trying to go like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, just look at the video. Don't look at me. I think I moved to the back of the room. I was like, dear God. I was like, I could do this. This is yoga. It's just some bending here.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I think that that was always kind of rewarding for me when I would start with a new group, start a new season with a new football team or whatever, and kind of that vibe of, oh, it's this is not going to be that hard.
Right.
I'm not going to take it super seriously, and then to find out by the end of the season, like, oh, yoga was hard,
Yeah.
and
And you're like, that was my beginner's course.
yeah, I never have gotten super hard with the group, but
You should one day. Like, just show
I
up and be like, I've decided I hate you guys. Let's go.
Well, that one that I was doing just randomly, like it was like yoga for athletes, beginners, and then like randomly he throws in one that's just like, and it's like, for beginners, what is going on here? We had to pause it just to look what his body was doing. Like, all right, it's a leg up, and it's like, what is going on? I feel like he's just flexing.
I remember doing a yoga class like I guess it would be like 19 years ago now, right after we started the gym, and it was a yoga for beginners, and I was like, I never done it before. I'm not very flexible, and the instructor was like, you're gonna be fine. It's all right. Don't worry about it. And then she spent almost the entire class over like poking at me like, your hips are supposed to turn. Turn your hips. No, that's the wrong way. Turn them the other way.
It's amazing. It really does. And I don't know why it is, but you look at it and you're like, oh, like I said, just lying on carpet squares.
Right.
God damn, it's hard.
Yeah.
When you guys say lying on carpet squares, I imagine the little 4-inch samples that you get from the. I think it's the most depressing. You have to share your carpet square; it's all been cut up, and everybody just gets a little bit for your elbow or whatever.
You have to like bind yourself, be small enough to fit on it.
No part of your body can be off the carpet square.
Yeah. Everybody just looks like a black cat from Nightmare Before Christmas or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we already talk about why some people seem to be real reticent to get into it? Like, has that been that? Obviously, that was your experience getting into it, right?
Totally my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. They either think it's, not hard, that they won't get any physical benefit from it, or a lot of people think that yoga is like a religion, and so they're don't want to be a part of it, or like the Om sounds or that kind of thing, and so yeah, but I don't think people realize like there's so many benefits that aren't even just the flexibility part. It's like that the physiology of what's going on in your body when you're practicing. Stimulates your vagus nerve. I love to talk about the vagus nerve. It initiates the calm response in your body. It teaches you how to recognize your thoughts. It teaches you, so when you have the ability to recognize your thoughts, you have the ability to recognize when your thoughts are not serving you.
Right.
Serving you. Can I cuss? Like, I'm a piece of shit. We'll
cut that.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
we'll bleep it.
When
What the fuck?
When your thoughts are but like when your self-esteem is constantly telling you you're not good enough, and then you manifest that in your life, right? Because you think it and you believe it and then you act upon it, and your life is not going to turn out super well if you always believe deep down you're a piece of crap, right? So when you practice especially meditation, which yoga actually means meditation. The yoga that we practice, Westernized yoga is actually called asana. That's the physical postures. But anyway, when you practice recognizing your thoughts, then you can learn how to pick and choose your thoughts. Basically, if you catch yourself thinking about things that like I said, don't serve you, then you can learn how to see that that's happening in your mind, let those thoughts go, and choose thoughts that are healthier.
Yeah.
So that's probably, I think, the biggest benefit.
Yeah.
The mindfulness component of it.
The mindfulness, yeah. Learning how to be in the present moment. When you catch your mind always going to the past, that is conducive to bringing depression into your life, because you're just like, oh, this thing's happened, and I suck, and I should have done that differently. It just fosters depression. And when your mind is constantly in the future or things that haven't happened yet, that fosters anxiety. So when you can learn to be in the present and just being in the moment, then that is the art of being mindful, is being in the present.
Yeah.
Just be here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of, like, mindfulness has a great track record as an intervention for depression, anxiety, and as intervention for recovery for exercise. Like, there's been, over the years, I've seen quite a few things that pop up where they're like, check out this cool intervention that we've got that improves recovery. People can train more frequently. And the intervention almost always includes the athlete is just laying on a bed for half an hour, not, like they're supposed to just lay down and try to relax for half an hour. And it's like, that's really, like, if you control for that, the rest of the intervention doesn't really do anything. Like, you just, having the time to just sit down and not be, stuck on something else, just to take a break is really, really valuable for a human, Yeah, you're doing it really good, too. Oh, don't tap it.
I just wanted to mess it up a little bit.
I can hear it, though.
Going back, you went on a nice little stream there, so I don't want to say anything. But when we were talking about like why some people are hesitant to get in, and part of it might just be like you're already going into a new thing, so you want to be comfortable. But the people that need it, like if you meet somebody that, let's say I was going to like an all-male class, a lot of the, at least when I'm going on to like look up, like I did a deep dive of like yoga for males. The yoga instructor is already, like you talk about, in this super mindfulness. He's saying all of the words, you know what I mean? Like the way that they speak. So I think that sometimes is almost such a bridge of like, I'm a red-blooded American, like we're excited. Today's the Super Bowl, right? And then when like you see that's the first representative. Sometimes like I don't
it's
know
not
what,
macho.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different, right?
Right.
It's not something that you
It's
see in your everyday
uncomfortable.
culture. Yeah.
Right. It becomes uncomfortable. Which it just is what it is. You know, I don't know. Maybe they need like a person at the door.
Yeah, I mean, we very much have a culture that's big on like min-maxing your life. You know, like every second of the day should be to get the maximum value. A big part of the reason why I got my flip phone that you guys love making fun of me for is that I get like if I have like 15 minutes of downtime, now it's just downtime. You know, like if I had 15 minutes between stuff, it used to be that I was on my phone doing something, and now I got 15 minutes, you know, between meeting with you and getting off work or whatever. I just sit on the couch, hang out with my kids, relax, and like those little chunks throughout the day have been super, super valuable, but it's not something that we celebrate at all as a culture.
Yeah, this business has gone the opposite for me. Because now I had to get social media. Right? Like now I'm pouring through, like half my time is like looking at what other Instagram people are doing. Like I never cared about that. Now it's eating
It's informative.
some of my time, right? Some of it's for business, but I already can feel myself the addiction.
The candies,
The random-
the candies there.
The random, like, am I really doing anything right now? Like,
Yeah.
or am I just scrolling?
Right.
And when you go down that rabbit hole of like looking at what other people are doing, you start to like feel that comparison.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
'cause comparison is the thief of joy
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, oh, they're better at it, and I suck, and I'll just give up, and you know, like that
That's why we.
spirals.
I think it was like a week ago. I came back to Cofield and I was like, we're just going opposite.
Yeah, counter programming.
We're going counterculture on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're doing that, we're doing this.
I
Now I just got to
that.
figure out what everybody does to do the exact opposite.
Yes. I like
I'm
it.
sure there's going to be a huge market for it too.
You guys are likable. I mean, that's really.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got the foundation.
I think that's the first compliment I've gotten on this show.
Probably. Look at me getting compliments.
That's the biggest benefit of my job at Shelton High School is, you know, my coworkers.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the students too, but like I work with cool people. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure you guys have experienced this. Like, we work with experts of all different facets of life, and so like if you have a question about chemistry or a random question, like a random
How to
math
build a
equation,
house.
yeah, like I'm like, oh, I can go to so and so for that.
Right.
Oh, I'll just walk down to Chris Lacey and you
Right.
know find out how many oxygen molecules attach themselves to a red blood cell. You know? Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that part is really cool.
Do you know how many oxygen molecules attach themselves to a red blood cell?
He said lots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was like, well, is it just like one? Is it like a 1-to-1 ratio there, or because I was teaching my students CPR, and you know, it used to be like mouth to mouth was always a component of CPR,
Right.
But now they're saying that's not as critical as just at least keeping
Yeah,
the
keep the
circulation
keep the
going
circulation going.
and the blood pressure up, and because now they found. There's enough oxygen circulating in the
Already.
blood that you don't always have to be adding to it. And then I was like, well, you know, it's kind of like, well, how many, like, is it 1 to 1?
Plus, when
or
you're
is
pushing
it a
on their
lot?
chest a lot, there's still going to be a change in oxygen. It says each hemoglobin molecule binds 4 oxygen molecules, so that each red blood cell carries about 1 billion.
Oh, well, I would say that is lots.
Yeah, I was that
Chris Lacey
qualified.
was right. That's
Way
a
to go.
lot.
Way to go, Lacey.
Awesome.
Not what they showed on the Magic School Bus. Each one was just holding the hand of one oxygen molecule. Damn Magic School Bus.
Right. I know.
That was
When
the
I-
beginning and end of my science education. Magic School Bus from the late 80s.
Yeah.
Not the new version, the old version. Yeah.
When you did Everest, were you when you summited Everest?
Stop.
That's my new favorite thing.
When you summited to the bottom of Everest.
It's kind of like, you know, have you seen that movie? There's something about Mary, and he's always like, "Oh, I got these darn Nepalese coins." You know that scene? So I don't want to be
Can't
that
spend them
No.
anywhere.
guy. Yeah.
Is that where you were at, or did you travel? Like, I know you were doing dentistry. Mm-hmm. Is it like were you in Nepal, or were you like adjacent? Did you move there? Basically, what I'm trying to get at, like, was yoga or yoga adjacent type things more common over there in
Yeah.
the East?
Yes. Yeah. You know, you see people in meditation, that kind of thing. So it is definitely more. And they talk about like karma a lot more. It's just like a normal part of life there to have those beliefs and those practices. But yeah. No, to answer your question, I was in Nepal in 2011. I was in Kathmandu, which is the capital city, and did dentistry there with a team. And then afterwards, it's like, you know, if you're in Nepal already, like you got to do the Everest trek. And so you fly. So when the dental clinic was done, I flew to this little town of Lukla in like a little puddle jumper plane. And you actually fly into the world's most dangerous airport.
That sounds fun.
Lukla. And
is that the one with like the tiny little runway on a cliff?
Yeah. And you land going uphill. So if you overshoot the landing, you'll just crash into a mountainside. And then when you go to take off, you're going downhill. There it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. And so if you overshoot the takeoff, you just fall off the mountain. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
That would be so one way goes into a mountain and the other way is off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to put a runway in the middle of the Himalayas. So
Yeah.
I think they've found the best spot for it. Yeah.
Okay, can you scroll up a little bit? Yeah, I'm just like down here, right where your finger is. They're like, I don't know, maybe left to right.
They did it this way.
Crazy amount of space this direction.
Maybe it's just foreshortening though. Maybe this is a really long ways.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm sure that they picked the longest part.
Yeah.
They probably didn't. They probably wanted to do it the other way, and there was some guy who was like, "No, that's where my cows sleep."
Yeah. But it's
already
tricky
told the
because the weather, like fog, will roll in just sort of like without warning, and then they have to cancel flights and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting in and out it's tricky. So yeah, I started there. Like you pass under a big archway, like you're on your journey kind of thing, and this thing keeps sliding back. Yeah. So it takes, like I said, about 9 days on foot, and then about 3 days back. Because apparently you're quicker going downhill.
Oh,
I know.
just
Imagine.
roll. As you sleep at night, the sleeping bags just slide down the mountain.
Yeah.
The guides teach you how to do a front handspring, and you just
Pretty much.
front handspring all the way down.
Yeah. So when you trek for, I don't know, maybe 6 or so hours a day, roughly 6 or 8, maybe if it's a long day, and then you find where you're gonna stay. Some people camp. I stayed in nice lodges. So you would check in and put your stuff away and get your room kind of situated, and then you would go climb another like mountainside, wherever you're staying for the night. You just climb to another high point, and you sit there for about an hour, and then you come back down because you won't get altitude sickness at a lower elevation than you've been if you sleep lower than your highest point for the day. And so. Yeah, which is honestly like the last thing you feel like doing because you've been trekking all day long. You're just like going uphill.
You finally set up camp, and then they're like, "All right,
rocky.
time for another 200 feet."
Yeah. So you're super tired, but yeah. And so yeah. What else did you want to know about that?
I don't remember.
Did I answer your question?
Did you do yoga while you were there?
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some, but you're carrying everything that you have, so. A yoga mat is extra weight. So I don't think I brought one, but I think I did do some, just basic poses, just stretching. Yeah.
One thing.
I did a lot before.
Well, I mean, like when you were in Kathmandu, like when you were doing the dentistry, did you try to get around and do some yoga tourism?
No,
No?
I didn't. No, we were pretty busy with the clinic.
Yeah, I believe that. That's usually a full-time thing. Yeah.
But typically, so I've done 3 of those types of trips, and it's not uncommon to have people on your team who are also yogis, and so they find out you're a yoga instructor, like, okay, let's meet in the morning, before clinic and do some stretches. So, yeah.
You got some?
I was just gonna talk about stretching a little bit because we're looking at it. We were just looking at stretching for hypertrophy, so stretching to build muscle. Mm-hmm. And they did a human study where they put people in a calf stretching machine. And they would hold their stretch for an hour a day for 6 days a week at a pain level of 8 out of 10.
Oh.
And they got pretty good hypertrophy results. But I was like, man, that's a pretty rough way to get bigger.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like comparable to just doing the lifting. For
Yeah, just 45 minutes a
week.
week of doing calf raises, you know, like twice a week or whatever, 3 times a week.
Really? So built bulk?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah, but you had to, so the idea is,
Holding that stretch for an hour.
yeah, there's been a few different, like leading theories on what causes muscle growth, right? So there's like hormone theory, and there's like metabolic theory, and there's muscle tension. And so muscle tension is kind of like the leading one right now for the most significant contributor to why you grow muscle. And so they were like, well, there's more than one way to put muscle tension on. What about if we just put people in a tremendous amount of pain in a terrible stretching position for a long time?
Right.
But it worked, so I haven't tried it. I have zero interest in trying it. I don't want to do it.
No, it really sounds awful.
I also don't know, if you did that every day, for an hour, like how long would it be before you didn't have any more stretch to give? Like you don't have a productive
There's no
position to be
progressive
in.
overload possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can only stretch your calf until your toes touch your shin.
Well, you get some like outside.
Are you talking like
rotation and like bring it even further?
this?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
a
your
limit there.
bones get in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Is like
Yeah.
you just can't go that far.
Yeah, because a lot of how a body looks in the pose is their skeleton, not necessarily the flexibility of their muscles.
That's a big thing for lifting weights too, right? Like you have in your mind an idea of what like a squat or a deadlift should look like, and then you get somebody with weird ankles and weird hips, and it's like, okay, well, we're doing something different.
Yeah, totally. Like the downward dog pose. That's like the everybody knows that one.
Super
that's
famous.
very basic.
You turn into a pyramid.
Yeah, but in the full expression of the pose, your heels should be flat on the floor. Like I've never even been close. Like and I guess it's the shape of my ankle joint. It's the only thing I could think of. It's not for lack of trying.
Right.
So I remember in school, our instructors, we're all in downward dog, and then he came over and he literally like tried to like reach my heels to the floor, and I'm like, dude, like,
Good luck.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Just stop.
thanks for trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you guys are doing yoga, I guess the answer that listening to you talk, the answer is I probably am thinking of it completely wrong because I'm coming at it from a weight training side of things. But when you are programming, when you're designing a class, are like certain classes pretty normalized? Like, is it like, here's a normal set of poses?
Yeah.
And like most people know like this routine. Or do you pick and choose different? Is it freestyle, or are you just in the moment and you're like, I'm gonna hit this and then this and then this? Like when I sit down like for a trimester, like I know every rep that the kids are gonna do for, you know what I mean? And I want to make sure that we're doing this much shoulders and back and chest. Is it anything like that, or?
I kind of go in just because I teach kind of all levels typically. I will go in with like a loose skeleton, kind of a loose plan for the class. But then mostly I'm freestyling kind of within that. Yeah.
So it's just not even like, it's not a thought. Like I look at it as like each individual, I'm like, all right, that's like a hip flexor stretch.
Yeah.
So we already did that. So like, does that even cross your mind? Like, oh, I did one, I got the hamstrings, I got the quads, I got the hip flexors. Because I'm looking at it as like functionality for a sport. That's not what yoga's for. You were talking about like really it's meditative and that kind of thing. So
a typical like template for a class would be you design a class around a peak pose. And a peak pose isn't necessarily like some fancy arm balance you'd see on Instagram or something, which I want to talk about that. But, so like if I were, oh yeah, that's a cool pose. I never even tried, I don't think. But anyway, like if I were to go to like a senior center and teach a yoga class to that clientele, my peak pose is going to be different, obviously, than if I were going to teach high school athletes, right? And so you build your class around setting them up for that peak pose, which comes about 3/4 into the way through the practice. Okay, So if it's, whatever, you're going to make sure that the muscles used in that peak pose are primed for it. But at the same time, you also need to do a full body, set of sequence.
Right.
Because it's not just about, if that peak pose really, involves the hamstrings, you're not just going to do hamstring poses. It's always all full body
Okay.
with the being geared towards a certain pose.
Yeah, because if you have a peak pose, stretch reflex is like 20 to 40 seconds, something like that, right? Where like your body tries to protect itself from getting destroyed, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would imagine if you did have something that you wanted to do that was more challenging, it would be pretty smart to chunk it, like to do like if you're doing something that requires your hips to be all the way like externally rotated and a hamstring to be really long and whatever, mm-hmm. you probably want to get through all of those before you get to that pose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then the recovery demands aren't as big from yoga as like if you do, you go and do a stupid heavy squat workout, you're going to be trashed for a few days.
Yeah.
But yoga doesn't really have that same
not too much
level of intensity usually.
I have had people say like, "Oh, I was really sore from yoga." I'm like,
yeah.
You probably kind of overdid it, maybe.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because people like me, and it's like, oh, I'll do it for beginners. Really, I like 2 steps below that is where I need to start.
Uh-huh.
Just general standing.
Yeah. Yeah. We were trying to get Monroe through a bunch of like the kind of, where you have like the 90-90 leg angles and you like move your hips and mm-hmm. and like move into one where you're really extended or really externally orientated and rotated or something. It was pretty fun. It was a good time. I thought I had mobility issues.
I did like a week stretching out my hips, my knees, mm-hmm. my ankles. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm on an hour a night, and it just trashed my knee. Whatever, like over years, like the muscles and everything had like knotted up, and I really think it was protecting.
Yeah, probably.
Like it was like protecting the knee. The knee is bad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I thought I was doing great things. Like, oh my God, I'm getting more nimble. And then my knee would just, since then, it's just like clatters around. I have bone-on-bone arthritis.
You need to match that up with getting a lot stronger at the same time, probably.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah. I should. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who thinks, oh, I'm going to get limber and it's going to blow my knee up?
Me.
Well, yeah.
Well, so with, hip rotations, like internal, external, like, for example, I have almost 0 internal rotation on my hips. And so when you try to force that rotation, what takes the brunt of that is your knees. Like when my husband was trying to teach me how to ski, which we did survive, we're still married. So, but like when you're learning how to ski, the basic way to stop is called the snowplow. You snowplow, and they call it pizza. And so you internally rotate your hips and you
make a wedge.
Your toes through.
Yeah.
And I immediately I felt it in the inside of my knees. And so, yeah.
Same with me. Anytime anybody tells me to rotate the hips, it's all knees.
Yeah. So just be mindful of that in your practice, because it. Yeah.
Find you some exercises that work around it.
They just don't,
Yeah,
like
don't force it.
I had a buddy, we went golfing, we all know he's Evan, school teacher, and
mm-hmm.
he was a very good golfer. And like after like the 13th hole, he just started yelling at me. He said, I'm tired of watching you arm slap these balls. And like took me to the range and stuff, but he's teaching me as you would teach someone that has normal hip mobility, rotation, and mine just don't. They, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I look like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm either just twisting my trunk
or I'm
moving
robot.
my knees.
Yeah.
Like there's.
So both internally and external rotation you struggle with?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's a good time.
What would be awesome? We'll just do yoga and we'll film it, and everybody can make fun of me how bad I am at.
Yeah, one of Josh's goals was to fix his hips.
Josh, there's no such thing as being bad at yoga.
I will accept that answer and secretly say yes. Yes, there is. Because out from the outside,
you might have tight hips, but you might just be amazing at arm balances.
I can touch the ground. While standing straight up.
Like my claim to fame as a yogi is I have really flexible shoulders. And I'm that doesn't make exciting pictures on Instagram. Everyone wants the flexible hips and the hamstrings. But
yeah.
I got
but there's no part of your back that you can't scratch.
Wait.
Yeah.
Almost all of my back I can't touch.
Yeah.
How about you? You're pretty big. You touch your back?
Most of it. I'm a lot better going one way than the other on account of the dislocations.
From all the,
All those
one time you
injuries.
jumped into a quarry.
Yeah, that's one time.
Maybe we can get that in every episode, the quarry story.
Yeah. Be a fun goal.
No, I would definitely be down to do a little. You know what we should do is do yoga together for like a month. Film the first session.
Yeah.
And then film like the last session. I don't know if a month is enough time. Maybe we would get to a month and be like, this better be 3 months.
Yeah, no.
But
no, we should do that.
I always, because I really do think that a lot of my pain is just, it's all wrapped around. Like, obviously, I do have some problems, but.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about my right hip being so messed up has created all kinds of issues for me, knee and back and every other thing. And like, as I'm fixing the hip, like that's been my big push in working out for like the last year is just like, how do I get this thing to work right? Because I can feel like when I'm going through some kind of range of motion, I will rotate my hip and then extend and then rotate and then extend. Like nothing is smooth about it. Everything feels chunky on the right side. Yeah. The left side's super smooth. I can go through all the range of motions and it feels normal and good. But on the right side, I've just to try to avoid, using stuff that was hurt or whatever, I have a whole bunch of like really weird compensatory patterns. And so, as it gets better and better, my knee is getting better and better, just like magically. Like. And
that was the side you injured when you jumped into the quarry?
Yeah. 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 I mean, they were both pretty messed up, but the one was definitely a lot worse than the other. Yeah.
Got to work on it. It's hard to ask people to do it if you're not willing to do it as a coach.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's actually incredibly easy. I just just say do it.
It always hurts to, when there's buy-in and they're like, how's come you don't do any of this?
I ain't training for anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm not old, 37.
Pretty old.
So there are still things, like I always used to say this, once I hit 40, like I want to do like the lifting and stuff early. And then once I'm like in my 40s, like I always imagined when I was in my 20s, like this is when I would do like triathlons.
Yeah.
Like I always had a fascination with doing an Ironman. And I was like, damn, we did a Stafford student basketball game. I'm still hurting. Just from jogging up. And I wasn't even playing basketball. I was just running around shoulder checking kids.
A couple 6-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I made it 6 minutes.
It's going to be type 2 fun for sure.
No.
Or.
Yeah.
Type 2 fun.
I really like that type. I wonder what the last time I had type 1 fun was.
Right now.
You got to have you got to incorporate type 1 fun into your life.
I'm bringing that. That might be the best thing.
That's a takeaway.
Yeah. Type 1 fun. Don't stop playing.
Okay, Jess. If you were going to give advice to somebody who wanted to do something hard, like we're mostly broadcasting to athletes, right? Or coaches, right? So like if you are, there's a 16-year-old listening to this who's like trying to learn about training and how to be a better athlete and everything, what would you tell them to do to be better at what they're doing?
I'm gonna go with the mental standpoint on this one. I would say be comfortable with feeling vulnerable. Teenagers do not like that. Be comfortable with the fact that you might go out there and be the worst one on your team. That you might come in last, and because there's actually a lot of power in being comfortable in being in that position.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's really great advice. I can't tell you how many kids I've had who are like, if we could fix the way you do this one thing, you would be twice as effective, right? Like, maybe it's just the way they turn their hips in the shot put. Sorry, Josh, I don't mean to bring that up right now. I know it's a sensitive subject. But it's like if we just would slow down and spend a little time, like you're going to throw 10 feet less for a week while we get it, and then you can start building on it and you'll throw 10 feet further, right?
Yeah.
And they won't do it. You know what I mean? They can't not be the best in the room or take a step back and, like they don't want to be seen like that, and that's frequently a very significant hurdle to success.
Yeah.
Or to coachability. Or
I try to teach that to my students all the time. I think I have it up on the wall in my classroom. It's be brave enough to be how's it go? Be brave enough to be willing to be bad at something new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because that's uncomfortable, isn't it? To like not immediately be good at something.
Yeah. I've also noticed a really big spread in terms of like the long-term buy-in for how kids view failure. Like you occasionally get athletes that you work with who are like, I either win or I learn. Kind of like broadly, that's how they view it. So like if they lose, they could take something from it. Like that person's been doing the sport for 3 more years. They've been in the weight room for 2 more years. They've been, whatever. So like there's things that they take away from it that they can work on to try to get there. Or, you might have athletes who are like, I just lost and I suck at this. And it's like, those are 2 very different perspectives to have, and the one of them's not really going to serve you all that well, in my experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say about wrestlers. Like, if you're going to be a wrestler, you got to be comfortable with losing.
Yeah.
Almost everybody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Pretty rare for somebody to not get beat by somebody.
Yeah. Ever in their lives.
And being willing to lose under a spotlight in front of a crowd.
Publicly.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
No one else to blame.
Super metal.
Everybody was looking at you.
You are way vulnerable out there on the mat.
Like, at least in a tournament, there's multiple going on. But like we talked about, I think, it's like a duel.
Yeah.
It's just one-on-one. Everybody's sitting there staring at you. And so, like, you're just, like, getting pinned. Like, obviously, I'm sure, I don't know. I don't know what a wrestler would say. Would they rather get pinned or, like, teched? But, like, at least pinned is, boom, done, off the mat. Like, just getting ragdolled for 15 points. Like, everything you try to do. Your coach is yelling, like, roll your shoulder. And you're like, sure, coach. I can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great advice. What about for teaching, for coaching, right? Because you've led yoga and you've been a teacher. If somebody is trying to develop as a teacher or a coach, what advice would you give them? Same advice, different advice?
Oh, boy. Oh, man. That is really hard.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Because teenagers are hard. It's a rough crowd.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I say something in class that I think is really funny. Like I really nailed the joke, but nobody. So So be willing to have the toughest audience of your life.
Yeah.
And power through that anyway, because you never know who you are actually reaching out to, or when they take that lesson that they learned, when they apply it to their life might not be for 20 years.
Yeah.
And just knowing you're not going to necessarily get the immediate satisfaction of seeing those gains in front of you, that it's might be later on.
Yeah, I know. When we started the show, I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Don't read the comments, man. It's just going to hurt your feelings." And I was like, "I've been a high school math teacher for 7 years. You can't hurt my feelings anymore."
No, we are like impenetrable. Like, we already have the roughest audience all day, every day.
Do I sob uncontrollably on the way home every day?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But when I'm there, I'm tough, man.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are like me, but there are days where, fifth period will file out, bell rings, they file out, I shut the door, and then I just sit there and stare at the wall. I just am overstimulated. Like,
it's the weirdest thing.
I don't want any noise around me.
Since being a teacher, like, the books that I've read have gone down probably by 95%. Because by the end of the day, the last thing I want to do is do anything mental.
Right.
I just want to sit there and veg out.
Yeah.
So you would think that, and some still do, but you would think that teachers, like, they're probably at home reading all the time.
Yeah.
Half the kids I don't even think I go home. They just think we live, when you see them in a supermarket, they're like, whoa.
Like, you eat food?
What is going on here?
Yeah, why?
I thought that.
They let you out?
I never imagined my teachers existing outside of school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I thought they just, like, vaporized? Yeah.
Half probably do.
They vape after everyone leaves, but just kind of disappeared into vapor at the end of the day.
Go into a closet. We all just meet in the sub and like go beneath or something.
Just have sleeping bags.
There's
like
a secret room. Oh yeah. Teacher storage. They're just cots that are like 5 feet long. There's like this much room in between them, and you just slide into your cot with your feet hanging off the end. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, it is. It's emotionally demanding to work with kids.
Oh, it's the hardest job I've ever had.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about having athletes who, like, if they could get out of their own way, could go so far.
Oh my gosh.
Like if they would be coachable, or if they'd be persistent. Like that's always a struggle as a coach, is to like you kind of feel like you're getting hit with it, and then so like by the 10th year of working with kids, and it's like, hey, you could really be great at this, and then they're like, okay, and then they just kind of disappear. It's like, painful.
Yeah, well, I think one really challenging aspect of, I've never actually been a coach, but I've my own child, seeing that they have athletic gifts and then them pursuing that or not. But it's like, convincing kids that there are so many benefits beyond just winning, that you have that, self-discipline that gets refined, and you have traveling to the games and just the being a part of a team and being part of something greater and all those benefits, so
having to make sure you have all your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With checklists.
Right.
Yeah.
Gathering your gear and yeah.
Yeah. Time management. Self-discipline.
Time and place. Exactly.
Yeah. All great skills to have. Yeah. There's, I know that sometimes people can be derisive about like athletes getting college scholarships. They're like, ooh, I got a scholarship for throwing a ball really far or whatever. But like if you follow through, athletes on average are more likely to be successful in college. They're more likely to be successful as adults. Like there's a lot of really great skills that you learn besides just your sport.
Yeah, so many good lessons.
It's worth doing it to set you up for being successful in life. And like we were just talking about with wrestling, like the ability to put yourself out in a situation where you might just get the crap kicked out of you for the entire round of your match in front of everybody who's looking. Like if you can do that, then like everything else in life is doable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see if anybody's ever looked at like the correlation between like wrestling or just like not mixed martial arts, but martial arts. Yeah, martial arts. Yeah. Any of the combat sports and like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The ability to put yourself out, fail, and go like.
I know I've seen research on distance running. CEOs are like greatly disproportionately into distance running than the general population. Yeah.
Enjoying that grind.
Yeah, enjoying the grind.
Just to step
living
over.
with your discomfort.
Step over just so you could slap a 26.2 sticker on the back of your car, like, and everybody's like.
Yeah.
I just realized what those stickers are for.
You didn't know?
We've had this conversation.
Oh, okay.
He would put like a 1.6.
Yeah. 2.2, thank you very much. I've run 2.2 miles.
I once drove my car to Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's also... I think it speaks to the same thing that we were talking about earlier about like the cultural expectations of yoga. I think that the fact that CEOs disproportionately do distance running might not be reflective necessarily of like the value of distance running in particular, but like of the value of exercise, and that's what's the pro-cultural thing is, It's also really economical to run in terms of getting a health training stimulus, like 15 or 20 minutes a day is like,
right,
pretty good way to go, Whereas weight room might be
technically
4 or 5 hours a week kind of thing.
Technically easy. You could do it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that you could lift weights alone, but rarely.
Yeah.
Actually alone.
Yeah, but you don't want to get stuck under a bench press.
Yeah, if it's people
get choked to death.
People trying to escape a little bit, running could be that.
Yeah, do hard stuff.
Yeah, do hard things. And, I feel like how I grew up, it was like exercise was, this wasn't like what my parents taught me or anything, but this was just the culture in the 80s and the 90s of this constant pressure of, like a woman's value was in her body, and it was always about dieting and being thin, and so I kind of grew up in that, and I think there's a shift now, I hope, of that, exercise for all the other benefits besides how your body looks or doesn't look or whatever, So when I see like the Instagram yogis and they're like doing all these cool arm balances, and they're incredibly flexible, and they're like in expensive yoga gear head to toe, and they're beautiful, and their hair is down, and And
you hate them.
I do hate them.
Right.
Just because I don't want people who've never done yoga to look at that and be like, oh, I already don't belong. That. Yeah. That's not my scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really interesting that once you get into it, like I know what all the benefits of being in the weight room are. Like, it's been, like, transformed. It's saved my life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that everybody should be doing it. And when people are like, well, I'm not that good at it, or I'm not that big, or I'm not that strong, I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you start out with a 2.5 pound dumbbell, let's work you up to 5, and then we'll celebrate. You know, we can have a pizza party because you did something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just go enjoy living. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the fact that you got a body that works, celebrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell students that all the time. It's like, you have 2 arms and 2 legs. Like, I'm looking at all of you and you're all able-bodied. And, like, that is a reason to celebrate right there.
Yeah.
You know, none of you are in a wheelchair. Or, you know, like, be grateful for this working body that you have.
Yeah.
You know? I actually do this little trick because all my life I've hated running. But I do run. And what goes on in my mind when I'm feeling miserable is I pretend that I go through this scenario where I've been, you know, paralyzed. And if I were to be paralyzed, what's one thing I would wish to have back? And it'd be like the use of my body, use of my legs, you know? And so in this little, you know, daydream, somebody's magically given me the ability to use my legs again. But the first thing they make me go do is go run at the half and half. And, like, atrophy doesn't exist in this scenario.
Yeah.
And so, like, wouldn't that be the most amazing run of your life? Like, you suddenly have your legs back.
Yeah.
And so that's what gets me out there. It's just a shift in my mindset. This is falling off.
Forrest Gump.
Right?
We need a different pair of headsets. Apparently.
Something. It's
It's
full
just slowly,
like a helmet.
like, going back.
Our guest can wear like
You're a more animated person than we are. Like, we both sit here like this.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, anyway, Kyle.
I've got to
Yeah.
tell myself I should do some movement.
Every once in a while, so the
I put
audience
my
doesn't think
fidgeter
you're
on
dead.
there. Yeah, got my fidgeter.
Nice.
Move less.
We need to come up with some more silent fidgets for the guests. Apparently, that's a thing.
Just have a drawer full.
Yeah. Table full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is one thing that's interesting is I don't know if I'm going to wind up getting more, like, who's going to get more viewers or us?
Out
You know
of
what I'm
the
saying?
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big part of this is self-serving.
Yep.
Like, I love to talk about stuff
But
and
if
hear
we're
other
learning
people's.
stuff, other people should probably.
Yeah, because
Probably learn stuff.
every time we talk about, you know, advice for athletes, you know, my advice is always just be a psycho. Like, just go love doing it, do it more than anybody, you know, like,
Yeah.
that's always, but, like, your advice of, like, be okay being vulnerable, I think is super important. Everybody should hear. But I don't think that would have, you know, we probably would have been 400 episodes into this before I would have been like, hey, you know what else? You know?
Right. Well, you know, I feel like there's always so much focus on, like, being the winner, being the best, being the strongest, that it is okay to not be that. I mean, I'm not saying that, like, you shouldn't focus on gains and that kind of thing, but it is okay to not win and still get so many benefits from doing your sport. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.